Welcome to Math Zone African Motives. Today, we're doing something a little different, but just as important as maths. We're covering Grade 8 Life Orientation Term 4, focusing on key topics that are essential for your life and for your exams. Life orientation helps you develop a strong sense of self, learn about the world around you, and prepare for your future. So, let's dive in. Our first major topic is constitutional rights and responsibilities. We'll be looking at pages 152 to 154 of your notes to understand what these fundamental rights mean and what happens when they are ignored or abused. By the end of this section, you will be able to define human rights and identify examples of human rights violations and the rights guaranteed by the South African Constitution. So, what exactly are human rights? Human rights are the basic rights that people have just by being human. They exist to ensure that every person is treated with respect and dignity. Think of them as a set of rules that guarantee you fair treatment and protection, no matter who you are. It's important to know that these are universal rights. This means they apply to everyone. It doesn't matter your race, religion, gender, or where you come from. Your rights are the same. Whether you are a homeless person or the president of a country, you have the exact same human rights. This even extends to people who have committed serious crimes. Even murderers have human rights, and the law protects them from mistreatment. Now, let's talk about what happens when these rights are not respected. This is called a human rights violation. A human rights violation occurs when someone abuses or ignores your rights. It's when the protections that are supposed to be there for you are broken. For instance, if a boss fires someone just because they are a woman, that is a violation of their right to equality based on gender. Or if a school refuses to admit a student because of their race, that's another clear violation. Violations can happen on a small personal level, like abuse in a home. Or they can be on a very large societal level, like massacres during a war. Let's get specific and look at some of the human rights that are enshrined in the South African Constitution. The Bill of Rights is a cornerstone of our democracy. It lists the fundamental rights that every person in South Africa has. Every person has the right to human dignity. This means they should never be humiliated or treated as if they are less than others. They have the right to life. No one has the right to take another person's life. Other important rights include protection from forced labor and slavery, the right to privacy, and the freedom of religion, belief, and opinion. Our Constitution also protects the right to assemble, demonstrate, picket, and protest peacefully. This is how we can raise our voices for what we believe in. We also have the right to citizenship, protection from mistreatment and abuse, and the freedom to choose our friends, language, and culture. These rights are the foundation of a fair and just society. Understanding them is the first step towards upholding them. So, to recap, we've defined human rights as universal protections for dignity, seen that violations happen when these rights are ignored, and identified key rights from our Constitution, like the right to dignity, life, and assembly. This knowledge is your power. Let's transition to our second topic, gender equity. In this section, from pages 163 to 169 of your notes, we will explore the difference between gender equity and gender equality, and look specifically at how equity can be built in the world of sports. By the end of this part of the lesson, you will be able to define gender equity, explain how it differs from gender equality, and suggest ways to promote it in sport. First, let's understand what gender equity means. Gender equity means the fair treatment of men and women according to their different needs. It recognizes that sometimes, because of historical or social disadvantages, different groups of people may need different support to reach an equal outcome. This is different from gender equality, which means giving everyone the exact same thing. Think of it this way. Equality is everyone getting a pair of size 8 shoes. But what if someone needs a size 12 and another needs a size 5? Equity is everyone getting shoes that fit them, so they can all run and compete effectively. It's about leveling the playing field so that everyone has a fair chance to succeed. Now let's apply this idea of equity to the world of sport. We've seen for a long time that sport has not been fair to all genders. Often, girls and women haven't had the same opportunities, resources, or recognition as boys and men in sports. This could mean less funding for girls' teams, fewer coaches, or less media coverage of women's leagues. Gender equity in sport aims to fix this by ensuring fair treatment and equal access. It's about making sure that no one is held back in sports because of their gender. So, what can we do to build gender equity in sport? The notes give us some excellent suggestions. First, we can encourage everyone to play traditional games together, ignoring gender stereotypes about who should play what. For example, there's no reason why boys can't play netball or girls can't play rugby if they are interested and want to. Second, we can hold mixed tournaments. Imagine the fun and learning that would happen if you had boys and girls on the same teams in a soccer or cricket tournament. It breaks down barriers and builds teamwork. Third, we can switch roles. Let girls referee boys' matches, and vice versa. This teaches leadership, confidence, and respect for authority, regardless of gender. And finally, let's take part in other team-building activities that aren't sports. These activities help us get to know each other, build trust, and realize that we're all part of the same team, on and off the field. These actions, like playing together and switching roles, help create a world where everyone feels valued in sport. They help us move from just thinking about equality to actively building equity. This brings us to the end of our section on gender equity. Our third topic, gender-based violence, is a very serious one that requires our full attention. We will be covering pages 169 to 183 of your notes. In this section, our goal is to understand what gender-based violence, or GBV, is, to identify its various forms, and to recognize the devastating emotional and social impacts it has on victims. It is crucial for us to learn about this so we can recognize it, prevent it, and support those who have been affected by it. So, what is gender-based violence? The term gender-based violence refers to any harmful acts directed at an individual based on their gender. It is rooted in gender inequality, the abuse of power, and harmful norms. The notes define GBV as any form of behavior, including psychological, physical, and sexual, that is based on the gender differences between males and females and is intended to control, humiliate, or harm the individual. Essentially, if someone is targeted for violence simply because they are a girl, a woman, a boy, a man, or an LGBTIQ+ person, that is gender-based violence. There are many different forms that GBV can take. It's important to be able to identify them. The notes list several types. First, there is sexual violence, which can be rape, sexual mistreatment, and forced prostitution. This is any sexual act that occurs without a person's free and enthusiastic consent. Second, we have domestic violence. This is violence between people who are in a close relationship, often a family or couple. It can be physical, emotional, financial, or even spiritual abuse. Third is trafficking. This is when people are moved by force, fraud, or deception and exploited for labor or sex. Fourth is forced or early marriage, where someone is forced to marry without their consent, often at a very young age. Finally, the notes mention harmful traditional practices such as genital mutilation, honor killings, and widow inheritance. These are practices justified by tradition or religion that cause physical or psychological harm. Recognizing these different forms is the first step towards stopping them. Remember, none of these practices are ever okay. The impact of GBV is profound and long-lasting, affecting both the emotions and the social life of a victim. The emotional trauma can be severe. Abusers often use manipulation and control tactics that confuse and isolate their victims. For example, they might say, "I love you, that's why I hit you." This statement is a lie. Abuse is never love. It can make a victim believe that being abused is normal. Another tactic is to blame the victim, saying, "It's your fault this happened." This can lead to very low self-esteem, making the victim feel hopeless, depressed, and sometimes even suicidal. Abusers might also try to isolate victims by saying, "No one will believe you," or "No one will love you like I do." This makes it harder for the victim to seek help and leaves them feeling stuck and dependent. Beyond the emotional pain, victims of GBV face significant challenges in their social lives. The social impact of violence can be just as devastating. Sometimes, unfortunately, victims can be rejected by society. They may find it difficult to engage in community life because of discrimination or stigma. It can be difficult to interact with others, especially those of the gender of their abuser. In a cruel twist, a victim may experience discrimination at work and even lose their job and their income. The notes mention that in some societies, men may be reluctant to marry a woman who has been raped, which adds another layer of stigma. The impact extends to children as well. Children born as a result of rape may face abandonment, neglect, and other forms of abuse. It's a cycle that we must work together to break. The long-term effects of violence are far-reaching. It is our responsibility as a community to offer support, not judgment, to victims. There are laws in place to prevent violence against women and sources of help for victims in South Africa. Your notes refer to pages 175 to 181 for more information on the law on sexual offenses and safety for girls and women. These resources are vital. The law provides a framework for prosecuting perpetrators and for protecting victims. It's important to remember that there is help available and you are not alone. In recap, we have defined gender-based violence as harmful acts based on gender, examined its various forms from sexual violence to harmful traditional practices, and understood the devastating emotional and social impacts. This understanding is key to ending GBV. Let's move on to our fourth topic, which is something that makes South Africa so unique and beautiful: cultural diversity. We will explore pages 190 to 206 of your notes. Our goal is to define culture and to understand the immense cultural diversity of South Africa, celebrating the similarities that unite us. By the end of this section, you will be able to define culture and appreciate the richness of South African cultures, emphasizing the strength found in our diversity. First, let's understand what culture is. Culture is the shared way of life of a group of people. It's the lens through which they view the world and interact with each other. Your notes define culture as the values, beliefs, traditions, customs, attitudes, and behavior created and shared by a particular social, ethnic, or age group. These groups are bound together by factors like common history, where they live, language, social class, or religion. It's all the things that make a group of people distinct, from their food and music to their stories and ceremonies. South Africa is known as the Rainbow Nation for a reason. It is incredibly culturally diverse. We have 11 official languages and countless different cultures, traditions, and customs, all living together. From the vibrant music and dance of the Zulu and Xhosa people, to the intricate beadwork of the Ndebele, to the colorful food of the Cape Malay community, our country is a tapestry of different heritages. Each culture contributes its own unique richness to our national identity. It's this blend of cultures that gives our country its special character. While we celebrate our differences, it's just as important to celebrate our similarity. This is what we call unity in diversity. It means recognizing that despite our different backgrounds, we are all South Africans and we share common values and goals. The notes encourage you to look at a sign language chart. Learning sign language is a wonderful way to connect with the deaf community and build a more inclusive society. It's a bridge between different ways of communicating. Similarly, referring to the official languages chart on page 211 shows how different languages come together to form our national identity. To recap this section, we've defined culture as shared values and behaviors. We've seen how South Africa's cultural diversity is a source of strength, and we've learned the importance of celebrating unity in that diversity. By understanding and respecting each other's cultures, we build a stronger, more harmonious nation. Our final topic for Term 4 is about how religious organizations contribute to social development. We'll be focusing on pages 212 to 216 of your notes. Our objective here is to understand and appreciate the significant role that faith-based organizations play in uplifting our communities. By the end of this section, you will be able to identify several ways that religious groups help the community and why their efforts are so valuable. Across South Africa, religious organizations are at the forefront of social development. Churches, mosques, temples, synagogues, and other faith-based groups do so much more than just provide a place of worship. They are pillars of the community, offering crucial support to those in need. One of the most visible ways they help is through charity work. They run soup kitchens to feed the hungry, collect clothes for the needy, and organize food parcel drives. They are often the first responders in times of crisis, providing emergency relief. Many religious organizations also focus on education and healthcare. They establish schools, provide tutoring, and offer bursaries. They run clinics, health awareness programs, and support groups for people living with illnesses like HIV/AIDS. They are also active in promoting peace, reconciliation, and advocating for justice. They teach ethical values and encourage their members to live a life of service. These organizations mobilize countless volunteers and dedicate significant resources to social development, often reaching the most marginalized members of our society. To summarize, religious organizations make significant contributions to our society, providing essential services in areas like charity, education, and healthcare. We should value these faith-based social contributions for the positive impact they have. Well done! You've worked through the key topics for Grade 8 Life Orientation Term 4. Let's do a quick recap. We started by learning about human rights and our responsibilities to uphold them, defining violations, and looking at our own South African Constitution. Then we moved to gender equity, understanding that fair treatment means acknowledging different needs, and we saw how we can build this in sports. Next, we tackled the difficult but vital topic of gender-based violence, identifying its forms and its devastating emotional and social impacts. We then celebrated South Africa's rich cultural diversity, defining culture and recognizing the beauty of our unity and difference. Finally, we recognized the incredible contributions of religious organizations to social development, from charity to healthcare. These are not just topics for an exam. They are fundamental to being a responsible and compassionate citizen of South Africa. Remember that knowledge builds character. Thanks for watching Math Zone African Motives. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more from Math Zone African Motives.